You're trapped in a mental prison of your own making. You've somehow managed to trick your mind into believing that you are stuck in your current circumstances, that there is no realistic or practical way out, and that no matter what you do or how hard you try, you'll always be stuck in this place. You'll never be happy and you'll never get to live your dream life. These are limiting beliefs that so many of us hold on to in order to avoid the change that we need to make in order to live the lives that we're meant to live. I'm not coming from a place of judgment when I say this because I've been there. I have submitted to fear and limiting beliefs for so many years of my life that that's probably the one thing that I'm most, I don't want to say ashamed of, but that I regret. I regret not taking chances. I regret not taking risks. I regret not believing in myself more. There's so many regrets that I have, but I also give myself so much grace because I was definitely living in a mindset of survival. And that's ultimately what living in fear is rooted in. So many of us are terrified of starting over because we may not exactly know what it is that we want. And when things are uncertain, we're less likely to take a leap of faith. We're less likely to take a bet on ourselves. A lot of us actually are fully aware of what it is that we want, but we still refuse to take the plunge because we fear what other people will think. We fear that we'll fail if we try. So many of us are terrified of being seen trying and then even more so being seen failing. But here's the thing. If you choose fear over faith, if you choose fear over taking a bet on yourself and taking a risk and going after the things that terrify you, what you're choosing is stagnation. What you're choosing is complacency in your own life. And ultimately, those things lead to death. Because while death is, yes, a physical experience, it is also very much a spiritual experience. Throughout our lives, we will experience so many deaths and so many rebirths in the tiniest of ways and in massive ways that change us for the greater good. And all of these deaths are beautiful. And despite how painful they may be or uncomfortable they may be, we should welcome them with open arms because after death comes a rebirth, comes evolution, comes growth. So if you're someone who's afraid of starting over, I want you to really ask yourself, is me remaining in my current circumstances, is it worth giving up the life that I dream of? Take it from me. I'm 27 years old, and last year I quit my full-time corporate job to build a life that felt true to me, honestly. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I was uncertain of if the path that I ended up choosing was going to lead anywhere. And yet I took the leap anyway. I chose to trust myself and my desire, and I chose to listen to God over all of the noise, other people's opinions, other people's fears that they projected onto me. I had to quiet the noise and just listen to myself. And while this journey, the last 9 months of my life, have been anything but easy, I've learned so much about myself. I have truly become the most resilient, like mentally resilient I've ever been. I've become the most spiritually aware than I've ever been. And I am genuinely the most confident version of myself than I have ever been. And I don't think that I would have gotten to this point at least at this point in my life, had I not taken that leap of faith and chose myself. I know how scary starting over can be, especially when there are so many things in this world that make us believe that we're meant to stay in one place, that we're meant to be grounded somewhere. I understand the pull of responsibility, whether it's responsibility to other people or to your finances. I understand the fear of people judging you for changing, the fear of losing relationships because you no longer align with the things that those people want for themselves. I understand the fear of isolation. All of those things did happen to me after making that decision. I did lose a lot of friends and relationships. I did lose a part of myself, but it was a part of myself that needed to go. It was a part of myself that was no longer serving me. When I was choosing to stay in environments and in relationships that made me feel icky, that didn't make me feel fulfilled, that didn't bring out my highest self, that didn't inspire me to be better, I felt myself turning into a kind of jaded, unhappy, cynical person. And that is not my true nature. And I've always known that. And yet sometimes when you're in those environments, you're consumed by the noise. And because everyone else around you is complacent, because everyone else around you wants to remain stuck in their own misery, it's so easy to just fall in with the crowd. And it's not even easy in the sense of like, it's something that you want, and so it's easy, but it's easy because it's easier to be like everybody else than it is to carve your own path and decide who you want to be, regardless of, other people's opinions of you. But I made that jump anyway because I knew, even if I couldn't articulate it at the time, that at the end of the day, this is my life. No one else is going to live it for me. And I can either sit here and continue to live my life for other people and let them dictate my choices and, dictate where I work and dictate how I behave and dictate who I am, or I can choose for myself. When I left my job, I didn't really know what was next. I was kind of dependent on YouTube and podcasting. And so I kind of put my all into that. And while I did enjoy that, there was still a part of me that felt unfulfilled. And that lack of fulfillment came from feeling lonely. I also think that lack of fulfillment came from me, again, idolizing something and expecting it to fulfill me, as opposed to looking within and finding that fulfillment within myself and finding that fulfillment within God. And so these last 9 months of my life, I've really just had to not only sit with myself and figure out the type of person that I want to be, the type of things that I want to do, how I want to show up in the world, but I've also just been in a very deep communion with God about all of these things. And it's been the most liberating and terrifying experience I've ever been through. And honestly, I wouldn't take any of it back. Even the moments where I was up at night crying because I felt like maybe I made a mistake, maybe I was too rash, maybe I should have thought this through more. Those moments where I could feel regret creeping in, I remember just hearing the voice of God or the Holy Spirit tell me, no, you made the right decision. There was something deeper inside of me that told me that something greater was going to come. When we start over, we fear the loss of a million things, right? The loss of an identity, the loss of expectation, the loss of relationships. And that loss is real. It's palpable and it's painful. However, there is such thing as finding freedom in pain, and I've experienced that. I think humans are so cool because we can carry so many emotions within us at once. I think that you can acknowledge that, oh, it's a gloomy day outside, and yet I still feel peace within me, right? Multiple things, multiple um, experiences and feelings can exist at once. And so, while on one hand, that shedding process, that releasing was so painful because it wasn't just external things that I was losing in my life, like a source of income and people that I loved and relationships that I thought were true, but I was also losing an identity that I had formed based on these things. And so, when I realized the ways that I had deceived myself into believing that certain people, certain spaces, certain titles were what made me me, realizing that was also painful because I realized my own role in my misery. And let me tell you, once I let all of that go and I kind of, I don't know if this is a word, like succumb, but like I succumbed to um the shedding, and I just released and let the pain flow through me. You know what followed that? So much peace of mind, so much clarity, and so much joy. Because even though to some people I had lost everything, to me I had gained so much more. After that death came this beautiful rebirth, and the way that I looked at the world was so different than before. I used to judge people. I used to judge my relationships. I used to judge just everything. I would find a reason to complain about everything. I would find a reason to say, oh, this person doesn't like me because of this. I would always just come up with these things to like divide me from people and divide me from opportunities, whether that was like self sabotaging, whether that was because I was insecure, whether that was because I unintentionally was like making something out of nothing. Like it's like one of those things where you get a weird vibe from someone and you're like, oh, that person doesn't like me, when it's like maybe that person was just having a bad day. I would do that a lot. And if I'm being honest, I'm still not 100% sure why. I think that a lot of that was just rooted in like fear of being disliked. But now the way that I look at the world, it's so different. Like I see people and I see all of us as one. And I fully believe in love, and I fully believe in truth, and I fully believe in God, and I fully believe in having faith, and I believe in magic, and I believe in miracles. And like my whole reality has shifted because I took that time to go within and release all of the lies that I had consumed and believed in for so long. And again, on a material level, to a lot of people, like I'm not where you'd want to be, right? I'm 27. I do not have a lot of money in savings. I, by the grace of God, am starting a new career tomorrow, which is very exciting. But the last few months, like to some people, they would consider that to be a rock bottom. But to me, it was probably the most profound period of my life because I finally got what I had always wanted. And that was to find myself and to find what I want and to find true love and to find my place in this world. And maybe materially that hasn't manifested into anything yet, but I have so much time to build that and to develop that. And I think many of us are at a place in life where we realize that like money and these material things, while they are important and they're tools to execute something much greater, it means nothing without the help of the Spirit. It means nothing if God isn't at the center of it. It means nothing if love isn't present, right? And so I feel like I've gotten to a place like spiritually and mentally where I understand my own inner power and I understand how powerful we all are, not just as individuals, but as a collective. And I have just immense gratitude for this journey. I have such immense gratitude for like everyone in my life, even people that may have done me wrong or betrayed me, people that I've hurt. I have so much gratitude and I'm so thankful for all of those experiences, no matter how messed up or painful they were, because the person that I am today, I just never thought I'd get here. And I didn't know that that was the way for me to get here. I know this episode is kind of all over the place, but the point that I'm making here is like, when you start over and you take a bet on yourself, you will learn so much about yourself. You will fully transform into a different person. And the biggest thing I want you to take away from this episode is you are never stuck in your environment. You truly never are. You can make little decisions every single day that will get you closer to living the reality that you want. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for starting over and for choosing differently. I used to work in human resources. I used to work in all of these corporate companies, and I never found fulfillment because I never felt like I could be myself. I always felt like I was performing for the man. I always felt like my pay was based on how well liked I was and not based on my actual work ethic and the work that I produced. And that was soul crushing to me. I just want to be able to be my happy, joyful self and do good work and help people in this world. And that's all I've ever really wanted. And so now I'm able to do that, not only with the new job that I'm taking on and the new industry that I'm going to be in, but also because I know who I am and I know who I want. And now I can align all of my goals to that deeper understanding. Without that deeper understanding, you will continue to feel lost. Without that deeper understanding, you will just take things out of desperation. You will say yes to opportunities and to people that aren't truly aligned with what it is that you want or where you're meant to be, because you don't even know what it is that you want yet, because you're not choosing from a space of love or deeper knowing. You're not choosing from a space of wisdom. You're choosing from a space of scarcity, of fear. Don't let anyone and their fears stop you from doing whatever it is you want to do in your life, because this is your life and you're the one that's living it, and you're the one that's going to have to live with the regret of not just taking a bet on yourself. And yes, for many of us, it will be a shot to the ego. For example, this new job I'm starting, I'm probably making like half, maybe less than half of what I used to make at my old job. And you know what? I'm still so excited because I'm learning an entirely new trade. I'm going to be in an entirely new environment with new people. I get to build new relationships and make new friends. And that excites me because I get to show up as this version of myself, my favorite version of myself. And I get to try and I get to learn and I get to grow. And that is the most exciting thing to me about life. So I say all this to say, if you're someone who's thinking of like completely switching careers and it doesn't make sense to people, who gives a rat's ass? Do it anyway. Stop holding yourself back because you're afraid of what other people are going to think. Stop holding yourself back because you're not 100% sure of if this next step is the right next step. The only way you'll know if it's the right next step is to do it. I'm not 110% sure that what I'm going to be doing, I don't know why I didn't just say what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be working in a coffee shop. I'm not 110% sure that like this is it, I might in a year be like, oh, you know what? I kind of want to do something else. And I can give myself grace and allow myself to change and to change my mind and pursue that. I think so many of us have to stop getting hung up on the fear of regret, because when you are fearing regret, you're welcoming that into your life. When you're afraid of taking a bet on yourself, when you're afraid of taking a risk, you decide not to do it. And then later on, you spend these years thinking to yourself, man, if only I had just done that. If only I had tried that. And usually it's because you see people around you or people online or whatever doing the thing that you wanted to do that you were too afraid to do. I think we have to learn to take action and allow clarity to come as opposed to overthinking and searching for clarity. Because that overthinking, that search for clarity, it's just procrastination. That's all that it really is. And what is life without action? What is seeking truth without action, without faith? So, yeah. Again, I'm pretty sure this episode was a little all over the place, but I hope it gave you what you needed to stop fearing your own potential, to stop letting other people dictate your life, and to stop letting these like superficial things like a job title determine whether you should try something new, whether you can make a change in your life. Who cares? It's your life. You're the one that has to live with these decisions. You're the one that has to live with regretting the fact that you didn't try to do it all, you know? So just do it, man. Just do it. Okay. I have to go now, but hope you enjoyed. Love you. Talk to you in the next episode. Bye.